Well, hello, everybody. I want to thank you all for joining the Tea Talk with Miss Tammie Larson. I also want to welcome you all to Collective Rewilding. Today, we will be watching a few videos. For those who do not know me, I'm in the Master Gardening Program here in the state of California, and I am on I think my seventh or eighth week. This week we covered Saturday, actually, because my classes are on Saturday. We covered soil, okay, like soil and a lot of good things with soil. Unfortunately, my instructor is not too much of a she doesn't get my interest, so it's hard to follow her. It's hard to pay attention. So I'm kind of watching videos and learning on my own, kind of thing, when it comes to the instructor part, because we all learn different, and it's hard for me to gain interest in what she's teaching us. So I'm kind of learning on my own. All right, so you guys, we'll be starting here. Let me share my screen. All right. Not that she's a horrible teacher. It's just, we all learn different, and I don't. It's hard for me to learn when she doesn't capture my interest, and yeah, I'm finding it very. I feel like I'm not learning anything. It's kind of stuff that I'm already familiar with, you guys. But as I go further on in the Master Gardening Program and start doing my volunteer work, then that's when I'm probably gonna start learning more in the gardening world. Okay, you guys. So we're gonna go over soil. Okay, so one of my homework assignments was to do a soil test in a jar, Daryl, a jar, whether it be a mason jar, a spaghetti jar, anything that has a lid. I haven't done it yet because I couldn't find my assignment, but I have to put sand in a jar, and then halfway in a jar, and then put water in it, and then shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, and then I let it sit for a week, and it kind of tells me what type of soil that I have on my property. Okay, and it breaks. I'll show you guys once I find my assignment, and then uh, maybe next week or maybe a little bit later, I can find it, and then we'll watch it, or we'll do it together, or maybe next week we can do an assignment, and then I want to see you guys do the same thing. I want to see what type of soil you have in your backyard, or your front yard, or whatever it may be. All right, you guys are going to watch a video. Let me know if you can see.
Hey, Tammy, I don't know if anybody can hear you, but I can't.
Is that you, Benny?
Yeah, that's me. Are you able to hear Tammy?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh,
You
all
guys
right.
can't you guys can't hear the video, Benny?
No,
We couldn't hear you
Um,
at all.
oh, what? Hang on. Let me stop sharing my video. Let me sorry about that, you guys. All right, because it looks like I'm sharing. Let me take hang on, you guys. They're not getting audio because I'm not on a full screen. I'm actually sorry, you guys. I actually took it off my Google Doc. So you're
mm,
not going to be, yeah. So I actually have to do my entire screen. All right, you guys. And let's see here. You can see this, right, Benny?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see if this works. See, Benny? I love it when you speak up. All right. Love it. Now we should be able to hear it. We're going to start all over again.
All
Can
right,
you hear
take.
that?
You gotta press play.
All right. Can you hear that?
No.
Can you hear the video?
No,
What?
no video noise.
That is so weird. Hang on. I've done this before. I know I have. All right. You know what? Let's freaking do it this way. I know. I think I know how to do it. Oh, man. All right. Let's see here. Show entire screen. Let's see here. Let's see if I do window. Should be able, because I have my mic off. Hmm. Hmm. You can see my screen. You just can't hear the audio part, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like when the video loads,
Mm-hmm.
it's lagging up. We don't hear nothing right now. We can see the video, just don't hear nothing.
Hey, Daryl, can you help me real quick? They can't hear the video. I'm on entire screen. Share the window. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. That's how we did last time. Okay, share window. But that's my email. Can I show Chrome tab, girl? Uh, yeah. Share the Chrome tab. Okay. Let's see if this works, you guys. I did that.
All
Can you
at
hear
once.
that?
I took lots and
Yeah.
lots and lots of
There you
notes in
go.
my
You can?
notebook,
Peace,
just
senorita.
so that I could remember it myself.
You can hear it?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna restart that. I'm so sorry, you guys. All right. All right, let's try this one more time. I'm gonna see if I can keep my mic muted, and because I have my dogs sometimes barking in the background, so I'm gonna play it and mute my mic and let me know if you can hear it. Okay.
To my garden, and welcome to week 2 of my Master Gardeners Training Program recap. So each week I am going to my Master Gardeners Training Program on Fridays, and then any of you are interested in joining your own local Master Gardeners program, I just kind of want to talk about what the experience has been like every week, and then dive in a little bit about the topics that we learned that week. So it is actually Saturday. My class was on Friday. Honestly, I needed a break. It was a lot yesterday. The class was pretty intense, and I don't think all the classes are going to be that intense, but yesterday's it was very complicated, very in-depth, very much like my science classes I took in college. And so my poor older brain wasn't used to accepting all that information all at once. I took lots and lots and lots of notes in my notebook, just so so that I could remember it myself and share it all with you. So week 2's topic was all about soil for gardeners. Soil for gardeners is incredibly important, obviously, because it's the basis of our gardens. It's what our plants grow in. It's where our plants receive food and they receive moisture and protection. Soil is its own living ecosystem that is super important for gardening. In the Master Gardeners training class, it was a USDA, it was actually a water scientist that came to talk about the soil and soil for gardeners, which she was so knowledgeable. She actually taught.
What do salespeople hate more than anything in the world?
CRMs. Yep. Well, Monday CRM, it's the
taught at, she teaches college classes for soil science as well. So she was no joke. She knew what she was talking about, and it definitely went into quite a bit of depth. So it started with talking all about how soil is formed, how it's made, and the big focus was how different areas form different types of soils based on a number of factors, including climate, the amount of time that soil is going to be there, the parent materials, whether it's, like granite rock is going to have a different type of soil than a place that didn't have granite rock. And it was very interesting to hear what she had to say about how soil was made. One thing that I learned that I didn't know, red soil, red clay soil, the reason why it's red, that color, is because that is actually old soil. The older the soil, the more red it will be because it's had time to sit there and develop over millions and millions of years. As composed to lighter, more grayish type soil, or soil that's kind of been taken from streams or lakes from one place to another, that's very young soil, and so it hasn't had as much time to develop that red color. I just thought that was really interesting. So you can think of all that red clay soil in the South. That is mostly because that soil is very old. So California actually has its own state soil to be proud of. It's called serpentine soil. And the interesting characteristic about serpentine soil is that it has a lot more magnesium than calcium, which isn't always a good thing, actually. So I found that interesting to hear, because when I had my soil tested for my cut flower garden, my neighbor Daniel, the agronomist or soil scientist, he found that I had way too much magnesium in my soil, and that was causing way too much compaction or contributing to compaction. And so adding gypsum, which is a calcium product, would help counteract the amount of magnesium I had and then kind of even things out. So apparently my cut flower garden soil is very common around the state of California. So most of the soil class was really focused on the characteristics of soil, the different characteristics that soil can have that will change the way that we need to garden or that we need to manage the soil to be able to have a thriving garden. And the different characteristics of soil include, I'm going to look at my notes, texture, bulk density, soil organic matter, water holding capacity, soil structure, and soil chemistry. So don't worry, I'm not going to go through each thing I learned and bore you all on this video, but I do want to go through kind of each point, each soil characteristic, and talk about an interesting fact that I think will help us out in our garden. There are certain things that I learned that were kind of the basis behind all of this, and then that kind of took me to another place that would help me out in my gardening journey. So I want to share all that with you. Okay, so the first characteristic of soil that we talked about was the texture. And the texture of soil has to do with the amount of sand, silt, or clay in the soil. And I know we've all heard of this. We've all said, oh, I have very clay soil, or I have very sandy soil. And what that has to do is that actually has to do with the particle size of the soil. A sandy particle or sandy soil has very large particle sizes. It was said to think of sand particles as the sizes of beach balls. Silt soil particles are smaller than that and are the size of frisbees, and clay soil particles are very, very tiny, the size of a nickel. So you can imagine the difference between a beach ball and a nickel. And the amount of each one of those soil particles you have in your soil is going to change the way your soil acts. It's going to change the way that you absorb water, your soil absorbs water, keeps it in, or lets it drain through. It's going to change how much air there is. It's going to change how much compaction there is, and so on and so on. So one of the most interesting things we did in regards to soil texture was actually a lab part of the class that we did, and that was the ribbon test. And the ribbon test is a way to determine what type of soil texture you have in your garden. And if any of you have been watching my videos for a while, you'll know that I actually did feature this on one of my videos way back. It was in my Mason bee video, and I actually did the ribbon test in a video to determine how much clay I had in my soil, because Mason bees need clay soil to make their homes. So the ribbon test is super helpful for gardeners, because what you can do is you can actually go out into your garden, take a handful of soil, wet it a little bit, and mush it into a ball in your hand. Then your goal is to kind of pinch the end of your soil to kind of stretch one piece of it out into a ribbon. If the soil immediately breaks apart and you can't even get it into a ball, then you know you have sandy soil, or a high percentage of sand in your soil. If you can get it into the ball and get it to kind of a little bit of a ribbon, but then it tends to kind of break off after just maybe an inch or so, then you most likely have silty soil, right? If you can make a ribbon and that ribbon come and hangs down over your hand and the soil sticks together, then you know you have a lot of clay in your soil. So it's a really good skill to have, to be able to go out into a garden, even if it's your garden or someone that you're helping, grab a handful of their soil, wet it a little bit, and be able to tell whether there's clay, silty, or sandy soil. So the next soil characteristic we discussed was soil organic matter. So the normal amount of soil organic matter in our soil is around 5%. That's how much there should be in there. And it's actually a very important 5%, because that 5% of organic matter contributes to chemical and physical properties of the soil. It helps with the texture of the soil. It helps with something called cation exchange, which is those positive charges like the magnesium and the calcium, and all that stuff going back and forth between plant roots and the soil. So that organic matter really helps that. It also helps feed the decomposers in the soil, the ones that we can see like earthworms, or the ones that we can't see like bacteria or fungi or mycorrhizae. And so all of these things are really important to have organic matter. And apparently California is lacking in this. The average amount of soil organic matter in California soil is only about 2%. So it's really important to add organic matter into, especially us Californian soil, because we want to get closer to that 5%. The reason why California has such a low percentage is because we're such a hot, dry state, and it basically breaks down that soil organic matter and basically dries it out, and it just becomes dirt after a while. Now take that as in a more humid state like Iowa or South Carolina or something like that, and the humidity will break down those leaves and break down all that good stuff to produce more of that organic matter for the soil. One of the things the presenter did say is that you basically can never have too much soil organic matter in your soil. So don't be worried about adding too much compost. You're not adding too much. So the next soil characteristic that I want to talk to you all about is soil chemistry. So soil chemistry, we all know, the pH scale, and the pH scale is from 0 to 14, 7 is neutral. And our soil will land on somewhere on that pH scale. My soil pH is around 7.2, 7.3, so slightly alkaline, but that's expected because I live in a hot, dry climate, and hot, dry climate evaporate the water, so lots of salts get left behind, which creates a more alkaline environment. More humid environments usually have more acidic soil because there's more water there, and that water will wash away the salts and wash away those alkaline salts, which will leave a more acidic soil. If you do have your soil off to one side, really basic or really acidic, it's important to try and get your soil back to as neutral as possible, because NPK, sodium, phosphorus, and potassium, they are best taken up by the plant when the soil is closer to a neutral level. Now, I think one of the most interesting things that the presenter talked about during this class was macronutrients and the deficiencies that we see in plants when there is a macronutrient deficiency. So the macronutrients are, we all know these: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. Those are the big three that we see on the labels on our fertilizer bags. But there's also calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. Now, I was just talking about how my soil has an excess amount of magnesium, which is causing a decrease in the amount of calcium, because those two kind of go hand in hand. But it was really interesting when she went over what we would see, really what you would see in your leaves when you had deficiencies in these. So I wanted to go over these quickly for you all. The first one that we all have heard of is a nitrogen deficiency. Nitrogen is actually mobile in water, so nitrogen can get washed away if there's too much water. We have had rain for 3 weeks straight, so I'm sure all my plants are nitrogen deficient at this point. So what you'll see in leaves if your plant is nitrogen deficient is you will actually see yellowing of the older leaves in the plant, or the base leaves. And the reason why you'll see yellowing in the older leaves is because nitrogen is actually mobile in the plant as well. So it's mobile in water, but it's also mobile in the plant cells. So if a plant is deficient in nitrogen, what it's going to do is it's going to steal the nitrogen from all the old leaves and take them to the new leaves. So the new leaves are nice and healthy and green, but the old leaves will start showing signs of nitrogen deficiency. So if you have a plant, say you have a tomato plant, and you notice that the leaves at the bottom of the plant start turning yellow, that's most likely a nitrogen deficiency. Next, we have a phosphorus deficiency. And a phosphorus deficiency, you will actually see purpling of leaves, actually of the old leaves, and then you will also see stunted new growth. And the reason why is because phosphorus is actually bound in soil. Phosphorus can't move in the soil. So if there is a plant root, say there's a plant root right here, but then the phosphorus is over here, that plant root, if it's not right next to that phosphorus, it's not going to get it, because this phosphorus cannot move in the soil. This is why starter fertilizer is so important. Starter fertilizer is phosphorus heavy. So when you're planting your new seedling and you put a little bit of starter fertilizer under here, you're putting that phosphorus right next to those new, young, small roots for that seedling to allow them to start growing and get healthy. So my Sure Start starter fertilizer, it is essential. Next, we have a potassium deficiency. And a potassium deficiency, you will actually see burning of the leaf edges. So I thought that was really interesting, because a lot of times when we see burning of the leaf edges, we think, oh, not enough water. But sometimes it can actually be a potassium deficiency. And you'll notice this with a weak stem and then also stippling on the leaves as well. For all you fruit and veggie growers, a calcium deficiency is super important. You will notice this with something called blossom end rot in your tomatoes or different fruits. Whenever you see a watery spot on the fruits of a plant, that indicates a calcium deficiency. So that's why they always say add eggshells to the soil around your tomato plants, because that's going to protect against blossom end rot, which is a calcium deficiency disease. So, and then the last two are magnesium deficiency, which as a Californian, I probably will never see this because we have so much magnesium in our soil. But what you're going to see in a magnesium deficiency is yellowing between the veins. And then finally, we have a sulfur deficiency, and sulfur is immobile in the plant. The plant cannot move sulfur from one spot in the plant to another like it can with nitrogen or phosphorus. So you're actually going to see yellowing in the new leaves with the sulfur deficiency. So if you have a tomato plant and the new growth is yellow, you might want to think possibly sulfur deficiency. Okay, so I know that was a lot. Like I said, week 2 was a lot. You should see my homework, the chapter that I had to read. It was like this thick of a big book. I had to stay up late and I had to wake up early, and I was talking to some other Master Gardeners trainees that were there, and they had to do the same thing. So it was like, okay, eyes open. This is going to be an intense class. So finally, the end of the class, we talked about managing your soil, how to fix all these characteristics of soil that you have, you know, how to get soil tested, how to test your own soil, how to check for moisture levels in your soil, all that kind of stuff. So it was really, really interesting. Let me know if you have any questions that you want me to go over things a little bit more in detail. I'm trying not to bore you all, but I also want to share all this really interesting information. Also, if you guys aren't following me on Instagram, follow me on Instagram, because I'm planning to do, you know, like little cheat sheets or tip sheets about all the things that I learn on my Master Gardener. So it might be some good things to save, just so you can reference back. I just made one on the macronutrient deficiencies, and, you know, pictures of leaves so that you can identify what deficiency you have going on in your plant. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about today that we discussed in our Soil for Gardeners training class was kind of a controversial subject. And I just want to preface this by saying, I know it's controversial. I'm not saying one thing or another, but that is the subject of tilling your soil. And I really appreciated how the presenter in the Master Gardeners training class presented it, because the way she presented it was very scientific. She wasn't giving her opinion. She wasn't saying one thing or another. She was just telling the facts, telling us the facts, right? And so I'm going to try and present things kind of like that as well. I'm not going to say an opinion on it. I will say what I plan to do, but no judgment basically coming from me. And I don't think we should judge anybody either, but I do think we should all know the facts. So basically the presenter started talking about how when you till soil, when you till land, you are breaking up the soil ecosystem. Those microscopic decomposers, you know, you have the earthworms, but then you have the bacteria and the fungi and the mycorrhizae. They break apart and they actually die. They can't handle being, you know, chopped in half, basically. So you do break up your soil. You are tilling. You're also breaking up the soil structure. So she showed us a couple experiments of a farm that did till and then a farm that didn't till, and the soil and how the soil was able to retain water to be able to water the plants and not allow the water just to kind of flow through and, you know, go out to the river and take the fertilizers with it, basically. So it was pretty interesting to see the difference between the tilled land and the non-tilled land. So there is a place in gardening for tilling. I don't think that there's a time when you just shouldn't till, and I'm not talking about just with a cultivator or a tiller machine. I'm even talking about, you know, with a garden fork and turning the soil over. So the good aspects of tilling are it can incorporate fertilizers and organic matter into the soil. That's pretty much the only way that you're going to get those fertilizers and organic matter down to where the roots are without waiting for years and years and years and years for it to eventually kind of flow through down to that root zone. It's also good for direct seeding. You're not going to be, if you have like hard packed soil, compacted soil, you're not going to be able to direct sow your seeds. So if that's your aim for gardening, you might need to turn over the soil just so that you can direct sow some seeds. So yeah, and then the other thing is that tilling is good for is, of course, breaking up compaction. The crazy thing is that once you break up that soil, you're causing an effect where the soil will actually compact more easily down the road. Now, the negative aspects of tilling are that it actually will burn up the organic matter that is in the soil. So think about Californian soil when we only have about 2% of organic matter in our soil, and then we come through and we till it, and the hot, dry, windy weather is actually going to burn up whatever organic matter is in there, the little amounts that is in there. Like I said, it also contributes to compaction, and then it also breaks up and actually kills the ecosystem. So like the fungi and the bacteria and the mycorrhizae, they just can't handle the physical aspect of tilling, and so they die, and it kind of just disrupts everything. So the recommendation of the presenter, I thought this was very sage advice, was till when necessary. Till when you absolutely need to, and if you are going to till, do it responsibly. Till when you have proper moisture levels. Don't till when it's raining. I'll talk about that in a second. And then restrict traffic after you till. So once you till, you've kind of broken everything up, and then if you walk through it, or, you know, drive a car over it or anything like that, drive a tractor over it. You're basically just compacting all the soil that you just tilled. So if you are going to till, try and limit the traffic, and if you do have to have traffic, create traffic lanes that aren't on the areas that you just tilled. So remember I said this presenter was very reserved in her opinions and kind of just presented the information scientifically. Well, I thought it was really cute. The one thing that she felt very strongly about, and her answer to what is one thing you would tell people to never do, is she said, never till when wet. Never dig in the ground when wet, never turn the soil when wet, never plant anything when wet. Leave the soil alone when it's wet, because it disrupts the structure of the soil, kind of just messes with everything. And I just thought it was pretty sweet that she was being so good during the whole class, just presenting scientific information, but this was her very strong feeling that she wanted to get across to all of you. And I have to say, I never knew that. I never knew that you're not supposed to dig in soil and mess with the soil when wet. You're not even supposed to walk on the soil when wet. She was joking around. We have a lot of cows, over in Central California. So there's a lot of cows walking around on fields. And she was joking with us and saying that when she drives by when it's raining and she sees the cows walking on the wet ground, she cringes because it's compaction of wet soil, which I just thought that was really funny. So all in all, it was a fantastic class. It was very interesting. Soil's kind of a dry subject. It's not the most interesting. It's not like propagation or flowers or something like that. But it's, once you really get down to it and you learn the science behind it, it is so interesting, you guys. It's so interesting to hear why something affects something else all the way down the line, where you don't even think about things like that, like tilling compacted soil to get rid of it, but that's actually going to increase the compaction later on. It's just, to me, it's really, really interesting. So it was a very interesting class, but I will say it was very intense and very involved. I'm a little bit scared for the rest of my classes now, if they're going to be this intense. So I told myself that I was going to start reading right away in the week, so I didn't have to cram on the last day. And we do have a test after the end of all of these classes, but it is an open book test, so I feel like I can do it. All right, so I hope you all enjoyed this week 2 recap of my Master Gardeners training program, all about soil for gardeners, all about the soil science. Felt like I was back in college again. So it was interesting and it was fun. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I hope
Well, hello, Roger. Nice to see you. All right, you guys, we're going to watch another video. I just want to make sure that you guys know that it's very important about your soil and things to look for, when you're start seeding or anything like that. So, soil is the most important part of growing. So we'll be watching another video that I like from her. And then there's a couple other videos. It is 12:41. I still have time. The next live is not until like 5. So on Let's Go Help 2. So I do have some time, you guys. So I would like to watch a couple more videos. Does anybody have any questions? Did anybody learn anything from that video? Candace, Vanessa, Roger, did you guys learn anything? I hope so.
What is the soil in Barstow Heights? It's brown powder.
Brown powder. Well, actually, we have I haven't done my soil testing yet.
It doesn't look sandy. I mean, it has a little sand in it, and it doesn't look that clayey.
Yeah, it's a little bit of, it's like, honey, what's my soil? It's not clay and it's not like sand, but it is majority sand. But then again, I do have organic matter, depending on what area that I mess with a lot, places around my property where I, constantly, toss and turn a lot. You're going to see a lot more, good stuff in that soil part. But
I think we'll have a better answer for you as we do the test.
yeah, so Roger, one of my assignments that I have to do is I have to do a soil test. And basically what I do is I can get it anywhere in my yard. It could be my front yard or my backyard. So I just kind of like dig a hole, and then I get like a mason jar or a mayonnaise jar or spaghetti jar. And what I do is basically I kind of fill it halfway. Okay. And then I guess I pour water, and then I shake it, like shake it, bake. And then I let it sit for like a week. And then it breaks down over a period of time. When it sinks, you can like see the, where the clay is, if you have any clay, the organic matter, where it be other, like at the top, sometimes it's at the bottom, and where the water, it's pretty cool. On Saturday, a lot of students, presented their jar test, and I couldn't find my assignment. So, but I knew I had to do it. I just couldn't find it. So now I kind of know what to do. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to basically do today is since it is raining, it's been raining for the last couple of days, you guys. It was raining really hard yesterday, but yeah, so that's, it's good for my garden out there.
I discovered some more flooding issues.
Yeah, so like now that it's raining, now I'm kind of getting more an idea where a lot of my flooding is occurring. Now
that bad enough for us to get some flooding.
Yeah, for sure.
So actually, we had some water running in through the back door of the garage and puddling in the middle of the garage. That's not good. Yeah, so I don't have rain gutters, you guys. So my house didn't come with rain gutters, and it's not against the law not to have them. So when I bought my house, I don't have rain gutters. So that is one of the main problems is the rain gutters, because it's just like pouring down crazy down in dirt or whatever it may be. That's like right there. And now I'm like seeing a lot of like wood rot from the rain. So my balcony, the porch area, it's like totally right now kind of like flying off, from warping from a lot of the weather damage, rain. A lot of rain. I could probably do a better repair on that with the roof sealant we got.
Yeah, so we got some stuff to hold it down for right now, because we have a tarp right now just to hold it up. But that one day it was so windy, it literally blew off the top of my my porch thingy-mabobber. So it's not connected to my roof or whatever. It's not a roof, so. It's not my roof that's leaking, thank God, because that's one of the issues I hear a lot of people going on right now is like, oh no, I got to go check if my roof's leaking. I don't have that problem, thank God. But just
damage to the roof on our back.
Yeah, just some roof damage to our back. Yeah, thank God. But yeah, when I moved here, they replaced the roofing. So and then they also left behind several like stacks of like the roofing that went with the roofing that came with the house. So that was pretty cool. And then they left a lot of cool things. All right. Let me see here. I created a Google Doc. Can you guys see that? Probably not. Let's see here. So this is what I kind of want to watch. There's like a few videos. We can do composting for beginners. There's 5 tips for healthy soil. That's another one that I want to watch. But this one, start seeding 101, how to start your garden on a budget. That's a really good one, you guys. I think this is the one that I want to watch because I'm growing in a tent. So a lot of these things that she has, I kind of have. But she doesn't do hers in a greenhouse. Yeah, I'm planning to grow in a tent. Here we go. Let me see. Can you guys see this? I'm on my screen, right? I think it's this one. We're going to like do seed starting and then let me see here. I think this is that one.
Good morning, everyone. Janie here. Welcome back to day 5 in my Gardening for Beginners series. I'm really excited about today. The holidays are over. I hope you all had a fabulous time with your family, but now we can really start focusing on the next gardening season and all the planning that goes along with it. So today we are going to discuss how to start flowers from seed. Of course you can start vegetables from seed, but that's just not my passion. I really love starting flowers from seeds. So we're really going to focus on that today. And I think that that is just a game changer. Having the ability to get a beautiful, gorgeous flower that you got from seed that you didn't have to go to the nursery and spend $5, $8, $10 on. You know, you can buy one packet for a couple dollars and you can get tons and tons and tons of these beautiful flowers. I think it just opens up so many possibilities for your garden. My favorite sources for seeds are actually Johnny's. I've talked about this before, and the reason why I love Johnny's is they have a huge selection, and then they have so much information on the back of the seed packet, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then I also like Floret seeds. And the reason why I like Floret seeds is they're just so interesting. They're just ones that I've never seen, and I feel like she hand picks the most beautiful seeds. Every seed that I've started from her is just, it's gorgeous. It's so unique and it's so gorgeous, and I love it. You can also find some really interesting seeds on places like Etsy, and then local as well. You know, go to your nursery and see what they have to offer, and you'll know that what they have to offer is going to do really well in your zone. So like I said before, I love gardening. I love being out there with my hands in the dirt and the birds singing in my ear, but another reason why I love gardening is the planning of it. And I know that that sounds kind of nerdy, but I don't care. I love the planning of gardening. And when you plan to start seeds, you know, and get flowers from seeds, planning is a big part. The first thing we're going to talk about in starting flowers from seed is your supplies that you need. And you do need a couple of supplies, and there's a cheap way to do it, and then there's a not so cheap way. I wouldn't say expensive, but definitely not so cheap way. And I've done both, and I have to say I found that the cheap way to do it just doesn't get the results that I want. So I decided last year to actually invest in some supplies that will really help me. And you can see from behind here, yes, we are in my bedroom. It's the only place I have to put it right now, but I don't care. I love it in here. So the first thing that you're going to need is you're going to need some type of seed starting vessel. And a lot of people will use, you know, the things that strawberries come in, or sometimes if you go to Costco and you get those muffin tins, you can pop holes in those, and you can use those muffin, you know, plastic clamshell things. What I really like using is I actually really like using a seed starting system, and this is my favorite one. It's from Burpee, and it's a 72 cell count seed starting system. And this is the self-watering kind, which I find really useful. But I just really like the shape of these. I think that the 72 cell count is really good sizes. It comes with a humidity dome. Sorry, this one is obviously used. It's dirty. It comes with a humidity dome, which is really important for seed starting for the germination stage. And then it comes with 2 trays of, let's see if you guys can see that, 2 trays where you can, you know, each cell, you can put your seeds in each cell. And then it comes with the bottom tray, the...
Cole, he's my miracle child. So how does your miracle child get cancer?
The watering mat, which this goes into the water that you put underneath here, and this wicks up the water, and then it bottom waters your seeds. And it's basically one whole little system that you can grow your seeds in, and it makes it just so easy, so convenient. And these fit perfectly on the heating pads that I buy as well. So for the heating pads, I'll link them. I'll link the ones I got. I got them from Amazon. They just plug in and they go right underneath your mat. And a heating pad is really, or a heating mat, excuse me, is really helpful for the germination stage, and then just getting those plants to really thrive and do well. You don't need a heating mat for your seeds, but it just makes things that much easier for you, and they're not that expensive. So I think it's well worth investing in a heating mat. The thing that I think you absolutely absolutely do need is light. So you can put your seeds right next to a window, you know, and then just keep turning it so the seeds don't start bending over towards the light. But my favorite thing, if you go to Walmart and you buy a garage shop light for 20 bucks, it's exactly what you need, and you can just hook it on a shelf and it makes your seed starting area that much easier. It's just fantastic, and it's a game changer. And I really think, you know, you're investing your time and your money into starting these seeds, and you might as well do it right. And all of these things that you purchase are a one and done purchase. So, you know, I purchased these last year, and I know I'm not going to need to repurchase them for a long time. So I will link the seed starting system from Burpees. I will link my heating mat that I use, and then I will also link my shop lights that I got from Walmart. I'll link those as well. So you have the vessel and the environment that you need to start your seeds. And then in addition to that, you're going to need some type of seed starting mix. And you don't want to use regular potting soil because, for one thing, it's too dense for the new baby seeds to germinate and work their way through. That type of soil, you really need a light, lofty soil that they're going to have a really easy time getting through and getting to the light. And then also, I think one of the biggest things is that seed starting mix is totally sterile. That means there's no organic matter, no nothing that's living in a seed starting mix. And so that means there's nothing that can attack your baby seedlings and cause damping off or anything like that. So seed starting mix is a necessity. There are plenty of recipes online where you can make your own seed starting mix, which I have done as well. I just find that it's not worth it. You don't really save that much money because you still have to go out, you have to buy the peat, you have to buy the perlite, and you might as well, you know, depending on your scale that you're planning to do this on, you might as well go buy a bag of seed starting mix. I like to use EB Stone Organics seed starting mix. The only reason why I like to use that is because that's what's available at my local nursery. I think that they're pretty much all the same. They're not, you know, it's not reinventing the wheel or anything like that. It's just really important that you guys get seed starting mix to start your seeds in. And then the last thing you need, and I really don't think I need to say this, but I'm going to say it anyway, is you need your seeds. And some of easy starter seeds that I find the easiest to germinate and to grow are zinnias, which are summer flowers. They're beautiful, they're prolific, and they're so easy to germinate. Sunflowers as well. And then one that you can germinate earlier in the spring and plant out earlier in the spring are snapdragons. Those are really easy to germinate and grow from seed as well. Okay, so you have all your supplies in place, whether you went, you know, the more budget route with the strawberry clamshell, or spent a little bit money with the seed starter trays and the lights and the heating mats and all that kind of stuff. Completely up to you. But now the next step is you need to know how to read the back of a seed packet. And that is why I really like Johnny Seeds, because it has so much information on it, and it makes it so easy to know how to sow your seed and to get a good healthy plant out of this little seed. So I'm gonna link this video up above. It's my last video in my Gardening for Beginners series, and that's knowing your frost date, and it talks all about how to find your frost date. And that is probably the first bit of information that you need to know, because that is what's going to determine when you're actually going to sow your seeds. So on the back of the packet, it's going to tell you whether you need to direct seed or transplant, basically start indoors like I do here. I always find so much more success if I start indoors and then I transplant out after I have seedlings and I've hardened them off, but obviously it's up to you. There's other ones. What Johnny's will say is that will say which one is recommended, which one they think that you should do, and you'll have the most success with, but I don't find that always to be true. One really hard seed that I find to germinate is Bells of Ireland, and Johnny's recommends that you direct seed Bells of Ireland, but I found so much more success if I just did it indoors in a controlled environment, and my germination rate was so much higher when I did it indoors versus outside. So, you know, these are recommendations. This is what Johnny Seeds thinks, but you can imagine the different climates that they're selling their seeds to, so you just have to figure out what works for you. So one of the most helpful things that I started doing when I was planning out my seedlings and my sowing seed sowing schedule is I learned that growers, plant growers that grow plants from babies or cuttings or anything like that and then sell them to nurseries, I learned that they number their weeks of the year. So basically, whatever week has January 1st in it would be considered week 1. And then if you look on a calendar, each week from then on is week 2, week 3, week 4, all the way up to week 52 or 53. And I found it for planning all of my gardening projects, I found that to be so easy to just have, you know, the number of the week and what I needed to do that week, whether it was sow seeds or whether it was transplant out or whether it was my last frost date week or anything like that. I just found it so much easier to plan it out week by week. You know, when you're talking about sowing seeds 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost date, you don't want to deal with dates, you know, March 1st and then what's 6 weeks before March 1st. If you just assign a number to each week, you know, I know my last frost is March 1st, which corresponds to week 9 for the year 2022. So I know if I have to sow my seeds 6 weeks before, that means I need to sow my seeds sometime during week 3. So it makes it much more simple. You guys can plan out a calendar, you know, with the numbers of your weeks, and then fill in accordingly what you need to do. Once you pick out what seeds you need, once you read on the back, sow your seeds 6 to 8 weeks before your last frost, then it's so easy to just go onto your calendar, look.
I gotta stop the recording, you guys. Make sure this stops, because last week I stopped it and I did like 2 hours and it didn't. Hey guys, back to the video.
Look at what week your last frost is and then count back 6, 7, 8 weeks, whatever you decide you want to do. So the next thing you want to read on the back of your seed packet is how deep to plant your seeds. It will usually tell you sow 1/4 inch deep, so, you know, just barely covering, just press into the soil. It will tell you how deep they think that your seed should be underneath the soil. And it usually corresponds to how much light the seed will need to be able to germinate. Some seeds need darkness to germinate, so obviously those are going to be deeper into the soil. And then some seeds actually need light, so you're just going to sprinkle them on the top of the soil. Also, a good rule of thumb is you usually plant the seeds, sow the seeds 2 times the size of the seed. So if you have this tiny little seed, you're only gonna go double. And I use that recommendation when I use packets kind of like from Florette that really don't have that information for how deep to sow the seeds. Sometimes she does on certain seeds, but a lot of times, you know, she just kind of leaves it up to you. So knowing how deep to plant your seeds is something that you can find on the back of your seed packet, and it's really important information for successful germination. Okay, the last bit of information that you should read on the back of your seed packet is how to prep your seed. And this is called stratification, which basically means that that seed goes through a period of freezing or cold, and then it comes out of that and then it's ready to germinate. So I'm going to use Bells of Ireland as another example. Bells of Ireland requires 2 weeks of stratification, so 2 weeks of freezing / cold temperatures, so that that little seed is ready to open up and germinate. So on my calendar, on my week calendar, I know whatever week I'm planning to sow my Bells of Ireland seeds, I just count back 2 weeks, and then I know I need to put those Bells of Ireland seed packet into the freezer so I can stratify my seeds. So all that information will be back on the back of a seed packet, specifically Johnny seed packets, and that again is just going to help your success with germination. All right, this is a lot of information so far, but it's all exciting. This is fun stuff. So the next step, after you've gotten your supplies, you've checked the back of your seed packet, now it's time to plant. So this is the fun stuff. So you're going to get whatever vessel you have, and you're going to get your seed starting soil, and the very first thing you need to do is you need to pre-moisten your soil. You have to do this. I've done it both ways. I've had recommendations that I've seen on YouTube that you don't have to pre-moisten your soil. You absolutely do, because it's an absolute mess if you don't. So what you want to do is you want to take your soil, put it in your trusty bucket, fill it up with water, mix it around. I usually wear gloves because I don't like the feeling of wet seed starting mix for some reason. I know that's weird, but I just mix it around and I kind of make a slurry, and you want it to be a sponge where you can squeeze it and it'll drop a few drops of water out, but you don't want it to be any wetter than that. If you accidentally get it too wet, then you obviously just add more seed starting mix. So you pre-moisten the soil, and then you fill whatever vessel that you're going to sow your seeds in. So for me, it's the trays. And then you make sure that you don't press the seed starting mix down, but what I do is I just drop it onto the counter or whatever I'm working on, and that will just get all the air pockets out of that seed starting mix, so that there's no air pockets for those seeds to get caught in and then not germinate. So that's something that you definitely want to do, and you can get air pockets in seed starting mix when you're filling your vessels. So after you've filled your trays or whatever else you're using, make your holes how deep they need to be. And again, you can find this information on the back of your seed packets. I usually use a finger, or I actually like the end of a Sharpie. I think that is, you know, the perfect size for most of my seeds. And then you just go through and you make your holes, and then you plant your seeds. And one thing that I want to tell you guys is make sure you plant extra seeds, because not all of them are going to germinate, and it's not your fault. You know, they could just be seeds that just don't germinate as well. You just want to have extras, because you don't want to put all this time and effort and space into starting these seeds for a couple of the cells not to open up. So make sure you plant extra seeds. One of the things I wanted to talk about, if you guys ever watch Gardener's World on BBC, that's an English gardening show that's absolutely amazing. I watched it, and I would watch them sow their seeds in this small little tray, and they would just pour their seeds on it, you know, just in one big area. Not big area, no dividers, no trays or anything like that. And they would wait for those seeds to germinate. And then they call it pricking out the seedlings. And I think that is such a fantastic idea, because then you can make sure that all the seeds that you're sowing in your trays have actually germinated and are viable. So that's a way to do it too. You can just get a little tray, a little something, put some seed starting mix, sow your seeds, and then wait for them to germinate, and then prick each one out and put each one into a separate cell. What I usually like to do is I like to sow my seeds. I do, you know, 2, 3, 4 seeds in each tray, in each cell, and then if I have empty cells for whatever reason, I will prick out some of the extra ones and just move them over so that I have a full tray of seeds. So if you're planting a seed underneath the soil, obviously that seed doesn't need light to germinate, but the second that seedling comes out and reaches the air, it sure does need light so that it doesn't stretch or fall over. It needs light right away. So, you know, some people say that you can just sow your seeds and keep checking them, and as soon as you see that they've sprouted, to put them under light. The way that I do it is that I automatically put them under light, because I don't trust myself to get it in time, and I don't want to have that responsibility in the back of my mind of making sure to check my tray and then put them under the light. So I sow my seeds, and then I automatically put them under the light so that I just don't have to worry about it. So after you've planted your seeds, the next step is to manage the environment of these little seedlings, depending on where you are in the germination phase. So like I said, when I sow my seeds, I automatically put them under the light so that I know that these seedlings will have light the second that they pop out and they germinate, and I don't have to worry about it. The second thing that you need to do is you need to keep these seeds moist and warm, and that is why seed starting systems will come with this humidity dome, because seeds, when they germinate, they have to be kept moist. If they dry out, they'll die and you'll lose the seed. Once that seed coating cracks open, you have to keep it moist. It's super, super important. So a humidity dome will help that. It will keep some of the moisture in the area, and it'll give you a little bit extra time to go in and spray your seeds as needed. So let's see. Here's one of my sprayers, and I'll just go through, I'll set a timer on my phone, and every time I walk by, I'll check my seedlings and I'll just spray them just to make sure that they stay nice and moist. You Obviously don't want them too wet because then that will, you know, drown the seeds basically, but you just want to keep them, you know, moist, I think is the best word to describe that. You also want it to be pretty warm. Before I put my seed starting station in my bedroom, I had it out in my garage, and I thought, oh, this will be fine. I'll have these heating mats, you know, it'll work perfectly fine in my garage, and it just didn't. They just struggled, the seedlings struggled. A lot of them didn't germinate, and when they did, it took them forever to germinate. It was just too cold in the garage, and I live in California. You know, it barely gets cold here. You know, the coldest that it ever gets is in the high 20s or something like that. And it was just too cold out in the garage. So having seed mats, having your seed starting system indoors or in an enclosed environment or something like that is really important, because you want those seeds to stay warm. You want that environment to stay warm. That will keep them germinating at a high rate. So you've planted your seeds, you've kept them moist, you've kept them warm, you have light. Once they germinate, so once you see the little baby seedling starting to stick its head out, you want to remove that humidity dome. And the reason for that is, you know, it's great when the seeds are germinating to have high moisture content around the seed, but once it starts coming out, you want to take that humidity content and you want to decrease it, because if it's too moist, if it's too humid, you can cause the plant, the little seedling, to get what's called damping off, and damping off is a bacteria that can actually kill the seedling, you know, and make all your work wasted. So as soon as you see most of those seeds in your seed starting tray germinated and start coming out, take off that humidity dome. So now you should have all your baby seedlings in your trays, under your lights, on your heat mats, and you kind of just keep taking care of them, making sure they're watered. Once it's been about a week or two, you can start using this bottom watering method if you got these seed starting trays. You don't want to do that right off the top, because there's obviously no roots to get the water from the bottom, so you want to spray on the top. But once they've kind of grown a little bit and established some roots, then you can start watering from underneath. Once it's coming towards the time where it's time for you to start planting out your seedlings, you know, so you look at your calendar. For me, it's week 9. 1 week before that, so starting week 8, I know that I'm going to start hardening off my seedlings. And hardening off is just getting them acclimated to a different environment. Here in my bedroom, it's warm, it's cozy, there's no wind, there's no harsh sun on them or anything like that, so they're all super protected. So what you're doing when you're hardening off is you're just getting these seedlings used to the outside environment without causing any shock. So all you have to do is take them out for an hour the first day and then bring them back in. The next day you can take them out for 3 hours and then bring them back in. The next day you take them out for 6 hours, and so on and so on. So when it gets to day 7, so that will be the next week, and it's time to start planting them out, they're going to be used to the outside environment. And even if it's, you know, a really bright sunny day, or even if it's really windy that day, those little baby seedlings are going to be prepared for that new environment. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think
hopefully you guys are not falling asleep on me. All right, you guys. So I do have a couple more if you guys are interested in learning about composting. I have one on composting I would like to watch. And then she also has another one on seed starting. I think this is one where she's outside and she uses different stuff. How she, when she was talking about how she would get the start seeding, you know, soil, and how she would get it damp before like she starts it, and she shows you that process. Yeah, so basically next week I'll be I have my grow tent, so I'm gonna start putting shelves and stuff. Roger, can you see my screen? I know you guys can see my screen, right? Oh, so oh, you probably can you guys see my screen?
I can see you right now. I'm looking at you.
Oh, okay. Hang on. I gotta stop sharing.
No, that's not you. That's not you.
Yeah, I wish that was me. That's my dream right there. All right. So we'll go to window. Hang on. I gotta do Chrome tab. This is like just my Google Doc, you guys, that I kind of put the videos on. All right, so this is my grow tent, you guys, that my husband put together. It's pretty big, 6 feet by I don't know. It's pretty gigantic. Yeah, what he said. So yeah, this is what it looks like inside. Okay, so this is like a marijuana grow tent. Okay, obviously, or it could be any type of grow tent, but this is kind of made for marijuana. Whoever likes growing that stuff, and I used to grow marijuana, so I'm pretty familiar what these are. But I'm going to use them for different purposes. I don't want to grow marijuana because that's another
4x8x6. It's a pretty good size.
Yeah, so growing marijuana is so hard. It's not that it's hard, it's just time consuming, and I have so many pets, and keeping it clean and like the temperature, it's just a lot of work. It's like a baby. They're like babies, you know what I'm saying? So don't want to do the marijuana thing. If I do, it's just probably going to be a marijuana blend, nothing too special. But yeah, this is what it looks like inside, you guys. So I'm probably gonna put some shelving. I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do. I kind of wanted to make it like fairyland, so I'm gonna have a lot of gnomes, fairies, and deck it out where it's kind of like
Oh, it's really fancy. You could
Yeah.
hook up. It's got the airport. It's got the holes for air vents on the side. You could have your own
fan.
You could be pumping your own clean air into there and exhausting it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I don't think we'll be using that feature, but that part's really interesting. I don't even know what equipment we would get for that. But if you wanted really high tech shit to where you could control everything in and out of it, it's capable of doing that.
Yeah, so I can just basically go on their website. They have pretty cool stuff, pretty cheap stuff. I got this tent and along with a let's see here. I think it's 72. It's like a dome thing, like what she was talking about. But these ones, for marijuana, for growing plants. So they're very good. They have domes where I can turn it and let it vent. So that I think there's
you have to provide your own light.
Yes, I did purchase like she did from Walmart. Daryl, can you show me get those lights that I got?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna set up kind of something like she has. Okay, but since I can't really go high, so I'm probably gonna do it at level.
Right here.
Yeah, so I'm gonna share my face, whatever. All right, I'm gonna show my face, but all right, don't mind. Oh. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
We've got two different varieties here. We've got this bar light.
So that is it has blue, white, and I think red, right, Daryl?
Yeah. How about
purple.
We haven't even opened. Can I take it out of the package?
Yeah, so this is a really good brand. You can get it at Home Depot. Yeah, and it goes really
That's
bright. It's small, but it's the light is just
you could put wire or string through these holes there. So
and I can
don't know if you
hang
guys can see the holes, but yeah, there's holes to put wire or string through, and so that you have a variety of attachment options. It's got the power cord and some additional hardware here for that.
So this cost me around $30, $29. I got it when you purchase from Walmart through DoorDash. The picture looks so much bigger, and then when you get it, I'm like, okay,
Can you connect them all and just have one cord going to power, or?
We could if we wanted to. We actually have
in series, so that you don't have to have power cords everywhere.
You're gonna have to get those.
Yeah, I could. We have a lot of options when it comes to that. We even have these. We even have these cool remote switches.
Oh yeah,
that
it's pretty cool, you guys.
I already have these remote switches. So I just plug it into the remote switch, and Tammie can control the lighting.
So it can control my dishwasher.
So I do plan on getting another one of these because Tammie can control the lighting in our living room with this switch. So I can certainly hook something up like that for sure.
Yeah, if Daryl wants to show you, I actually have a marijuana grow light that I've had for years, and it's only missing one light that's dead, but it could like I said, I used to grow, so I used to have a tent, and I used to use it. It has a fan within itself. Yeah, so this is one that's more like
this one comes with the clamp on it, so that gives you even more mounting options than the bar
Can you
type.
Yeah.
stop sharing your screen because we have to look at your tiny picture to see everything.
Stop sharing my screen.
Well, yeah, because right now the
Okay,
only way
okay.
we can see you is in your little thumbnail. There we go.
Oh, okay, sorry. You guys. Wait, hang on, you guys. I can pin myself.
Oh, did you guys not see me that entire time?
No, you're
Well,
good.
only in the little thumbnail. Now we
Yeah.
can see you.
Oh my God, you guys see my messy hair. Ah. All right.
Well, this other light we got, which is pretty cool. These are grow lights, so
Yeah, same price.
it's not just your.
And this one actually has like a button.
See,
There
they
you
both
go.
have 3 different color options, and this one, the reason we like this one is it comes with this clamp.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you could attach that pretty much anywhere,
Yeah, which is pretty cool. Like once I start setting up my tent, I'll start putting that. I just saw reviews and it looked pretty. Like I've seen a lot of cool reviews about it. So, it was.
Are you going to put the tent in the garage or something?
No, it's gonna stay in that room. Yeah. So.
At least that's the plan for now.
Yeah, didn't you hear that lady when she put it in the garage? Yeah.
No, I missed that part.
Yeah, no, it's too cold, way too cold. Like, yeah, I have to
okay.
have it either in my living room or in the other room. But that one right there is pretty chill. I can go in there and have my Zen, type of thing where I could just go in there and I was gonna have it in the dining room, but I was like, nah, I'm just gonna have it in that room. So I also through them, honey, do you want to take these out and show them?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So she got another seed starting kit here.
It's all
This
backwards,
is our first
probably.
time taking it out of the box.
So it's my first time taking it out of the box, you guys.
Looks like each of these trays have a dozen starting pods in it.
Yeah. So.
Oops,
Oh my God, you didn't see that, you guys. Oh, this is expensive. How dare him? So they have the little holes at the bottom, you guys.
There's the covers.
So here is the cover, and then there's going to be tops to that where you can vent. Okay.
There's a whole kit. I thought this came with some kind of heating
It
mat
is.
or something.
Yeah, there's a heating mat.
Oh, there it is.
So there's the heating mat. There should be 2 or 1. I think there's 1.
And so so you put them all on top of this mat, and then it puts out heat for the plants?
Yeah, underneath.
Okay.
So here.
Yeah, I don't feel like
here's the bottom.
taking it out of this bag, but there's that. This is a heating mat.
So here's the bottom itself, and then this is that part where I told you for the top to vent and unvent. You put that on the top so you can close the hole, and then it also comes with the, little things to put the name of the plant, whatever it may be. But yeah, this is like $23, but like total it came out to like $197 for both the tent and this because it came with a coupon.
It's got a little illustration here on the box, and it shows you the dimensions. It says 10 inches by 20 3/4 inches. So that's a fairly good size.
Yeah, so it'll fit those.
10 inches by 20 inches, basically.
Yeah, so I'm gonna once I put some shelving in the tent, or I'm probably gonna start on maybe using crates.
So that's probably long enough to have like 4 of these on top of it.
Yeah,
you could probably have like 4 of those on it at the same time.
And then I also have that start seating thing that I got from Home Depot. Remember, you guys, with those little thingy-mabobbers where it has like 72 cells and it has like a dome over it. Well, I still have those that I can still use. So I have plenty of these, and then I have like a block of starting seating. Yeah, so I was just gonna put that away. But other than that, that's what's going on in my gardening life right now. Did we want to watch some more videos on soil? There's a couple videos that I want to watch, but do you want to watch on composting, and then we'll be good? Are you guys down?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, all right.
I'm down.
Okie dokie. Oh shoot, Benny's down like James Brown. All right. Let's see here. I gotta give me 1 second. Let me stop sharing my face. That would be a good thing. Ugh. All right. this is what happens when your birthday is like in a couple of days. You just, look like more like a mug. All right, let's see here.
We should call Charity right now.
Oh yeah, right now you should do it. Do it. I would three-way her. Tell her like, hey, where are you, Charity? Yeah, I woke up like at 12 last night because I went to bed really, really early, and I just, I'm on a new regimen of my medicine, so I slept like a baby, and I woke up at 12 p.m. and I'm like, oh man, what am I gonna do? So I just like listened to the radio or whatever. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have to pass out for a little bit. At least try to. Once I drink my V8, it's all downhill from there. I'll be like, okay, I'm up and I'm out of my bed. I had my V8, get me going through the day. All right, let's see here. Let me She has so many videos, you guys. Like, there's more. I know you can't see my screen. All right, so we're gonna do this. Let's see here. So yeah, like I'm in my 6th week, I think 6th or 7th, something like that. So yeah, right now we're doing soil and composting, all that stuff. All right. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
Use Grammarly and feel confident with effective communication.
All right. I'm gonna mute myself, you guys.
Hi everyone, Janie here. Welcome back to my garden and welcome to week 4 in my Master Gardener's training recap. So starting January 6th, I am in my local Master Gardener's training program. It's a 16-week program where it's an intensive program where we learn all things about gardening, the scientific and the research-based things about gardening. I have to say that specifically. And then at the end, taking a test, doing a project, and eventually becoming a Master Gardener, which is a volunteer outreach program with the goal of spreading the word of scientific and research-based gardening information to our local community. So I'm really excited about the program, and one of my aims, one of my goals for this is to share my experience with all of you in case any of you are looking for some more gardening information, what I've learned in the training program, and then 2, if you're thinking about joining the program yourself. Of course, every program is different. Here in California, we have counties. Each county has their own program. I know in different states, sometimes the regions might be a little bit bigger. So every program is going to be a little bit different, but this should be a good sample of what you might go through if you were to take your Master Gardener's training program. And I do have to say it's only week 4 and I am absolutely loving it. I am having so much fun. It's kind of the highlight of my week these past 4 weeks, and I'm really excited to be going through it. So week 4 in my program, we actually had 2 separate topics that we went over today. We went over composting, like backyard composting, and vermicomposting or worm composting. And then we also went over propagation, plant propagation. So I was kind of going back and forth in how I was going to kind of fit all that in one video and make it cohesive. And I decided it would just be easier to separate it into 2 different videos, just in case any of you wanted to reference back to these videos. You could just search for either the composting part or the propagation part. So this is part 1 of my week 4 Master Gardener training recap. This is the composting part. Okay, so let's get started with composting. The presenters for this training course were actually 2 previous Master Gardeners that had gone through the course a couple years ago, and they were obviously incredibly passionate about composting. They were excited to talk about this, which I found really cute. So basically, composting is the managed decomposition of organic materials. We kind of all know it. We kind of all know what composting is, but what I didn't know was the two main reasons that we should compost, not only as gardeners, but just as inhabitants of Earth. So for composting actually diverts waste to the landfill. And you think, of course it diverts waste to the landfill. You're putting it in your composter and then you're putting it in your garden. But actually, I don't think I completely understood this before they really broke it down for me. So on average, a human, we produce 4.5 pounds of waste per day that goes to the landfill. That's an average, right? I'm sure a lot of us produce less than that. I'm sure there's some of us that produce more than that, but that's 4.5 pounds of waste. And if you're sending it to the landfill, even if it's organic, even if it's your grass clippings or your leaves or your veggie waste from, dinner last night, any of that stuff, I always thought that it would just break down in the landfill. And, kind of who cares? Because it's going to break down just like it would if I had a compost pile in my backyard. Not so. So when you send your organic materials to the landfill in the garbage, it gets covered with more garbage and it creates an anaerobic environment, or an environment that lacks oxygen. So if you have organic materials and they're breaking down without oxygen, it actually produces methane gas, which is a greenhouse emission, a greenhouse gas, and it contributes to global warming, right? So I never actually connected the dots and put 2 and 2 together. So composting is really, really good. Even take it down to a simpler level. If you have green waste bins, put everything that you absolutely can into those green waste bins, because if you put it in the garbage, it's going to create an anaerobic environment and it's going to be bad for the environment. So by composting, you're taking out at least some of those 4.5 pounds of waste per day per person, and you're breaking it down in an aerobic environment. Am I saying that right? Yeah. An oxygen environment where the organic materials will actually break down and they will not release methane gases. So they will not contribute to any global warming or anything like that. So I never really connected the dots with that, and I just wanted to share that with all of you. So the other reason why it's good to compost is, obviously we know this as gardeners, it feeds your soil. It sustainably regenerates your soil. And the way that it does that is the compost actually feeds the microorganisms in the soil. It gives them food. Those microorganisms then produce nitrogen, which the plants will take up via their roots, and the plants will eat and thrive with that nitrogen. So those microorganisms in our soil need the compost to be able to eat and to be able to excrete the nitrogen for the plants. All right, so let's get to talking actually about composting, what types of composting there are, what your options are. So this is obviously going to be geared towards like beginner or composting 101. I'm sure a lot of you already know this information, but I just kind of want to go over it because this is what they went over in the training course on Friday. And so I think it's good to really understand what people are talking about when they talk about certain types of composting. So really there are kind of 4 categories for composting, and some of them overlap a little bit. So first we have batch bin composting. And batch bin composting, you start all at once and you kind of finish all at one time. And this is very quick composting. I don't think I've ever actually officially done batch bin composting. I think I kind of thought I did, but I don't think I actually did it, because you can finish this batch bin composting. If you do it right, you can finish it in about 2 weeks. And it's very labor intensive. You're turning it quite often, but it gets you a finished product very quickly. Now, on the alternate side of that, we have continuous bin composting. Continuous bin is where you add a little bit at a time. You add compostables as they become available. And it's good if you're not in a hurry and you don't have a lot of energy or time or effort that you want to put into your composting. I've mainly done continuous bin composting just because lack of knowledge. Okay, and then to break it down even a little bit further, past batch bin and continuous bin composting, we also have cold bin composting and hot bin composting. So cold bin composting can be either batch bin or continuous bin. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It is slower. It's slower like the continuous bin. You finish it in about 6 months to 2 years, depending on like the temperature and the environment that you have. And cold bin composting does not kill weeds and it does not kill pathogens. Now, on the other hand, we have hot bin composting, and you can only use this with batch bin. It won't work for continuous bin composting because it doesn't have the sustainability of the greens and the browns that it needs to stay hot. It kills most weeds and it does kill pathogens, and you can finish a hot batch bin of compost in 2 to 4 weeks, which I think is crazy. So for composting, you can just do it in a pile in your backyard. You want it to be level. You want it to have soil. You want it to have contact with soil. And you basically want to make a bin about 3 foot by 3 foot by 3 foot. That is the gold size for a batch bin in particular, a batch and a hot bin. You can have actual containers. They were taught, what I have a tumbling composter, and they said that those actually aren't that really good because it doesn't let in enough air, and then it also gets too hot because it's black plastic, which yes, mine does get too hot. What they were saying is a vertical stacking compost bin is probably the best one that you can do because it makes it really easy to turn it over. You just take one level off and then scoop out some of your compost, and that's how you kind of turn it over. So that's great. I am kind of hesitant to want to try that. I think simply because I don't have a lot of space in my garden and I don't want to take up any soil space for composting because I want to put plants there. So I have a very small amount of space, and a bin like a tumbling composter I think would work better for someone like me that doesn't have a ton of space. There is a book, they recommended a book called Compost City. I will link it in my Amazon store book recommendations, and I am planning to read it because it is all about composting, and I think the authors from New York City. So how you can compost in a very small environment, which is exactly what I have. Obviously, it's not New York City small. Not New York City small, but it's small, and I don't have a bunch of extra room. I don't have a spot to just have a pile of compost. Okay, and then what do you need for composting? I think we've all heard of this, but we need our browns and we need our greens. So good example of browns are carbon-rich and dry materials, and that can be dried leaves, paper and cardboard, bread and pasta, twigs and wood chips. And then as for greens, those are moist, nitrogen-rich materials. That can be fresh grass, which is probably the best type of greens you can do, garden vegetation, fruit and veg, and then also coffee. But you want to kind of be sparing with the coffee grounds that you put in, I guess, because it can make too hot, like too acidic of an environment. Okay, and then to get to the actual composting, depending on whether you want to do a batch bin or a continuous bin. If you have a continuous bin, it's pretty easy. You kind of just layer in the browns and the greens, and the presenters said just make it easy. There's different ratios that you can do for browns and greens, but what they said is just do half and half browns, half greens, and then you can kind of assess your pile as you go. If it starts to get too smelly, you probably have too many greens and you want to put in some browns. If it's too dry, you want to put in some more moisture. You obviously want to put in some more water. If you are not decomposing, it's too slow, you probably want to put in some more greens. So just start with the half and half ratio of browns to greens in your continuous pile. Water it down, and you want it to be watered so it's the consistency of a wrung out sponge, kind of like your seed starting mix when you start your seeds. And then you kind of just let it sit there for a continuous bin. When you have a hot bin, this is actually what I'm going to try. I really want to try it, and I am going to try it in my tumbling composter. You want to layer your browns and greens half and half, like I said. And you begin with a 4 to 6 inch layer of browns. Then you add equal layer of greens, and then you continue continue alternating layers until you've put all the things that you need, and then you want to add water to reach that wrung out sponge, and you want to try and get your pile, like I said, to about 3 by 3 by 3. So the what was that, cubic foot squared? 3 foot cubic foot squared would be big enough for the pile to get hot enough, because you need that pile to get up to a certain temperature. I think it's 140 degrees Fahrenheit. I'll put it right down here exactly what it needs to get to, but it needs to get hot enough so that everything can start breaking down. Then after you've added your browns and your greens and you've added your water, you want to start thinking about turning it. So like I said, when our wastes go into the landfill, they just sit there and they don't get turned, and it creates an anaerobic environment, and it doesn't break down, and it creates methane gases, and it's just waste. So it's really important. Composting is the act of turning it. You actually want to take the inside of your pile and bring it to the outside, and vice versa. And that way you can keep adding air. You make it an aerobic environment, and then all those microorganisms can break everything down. So there's one method that they were talking about, and this is called the Berkeley method. And it's basically, once you've made your batch pile, you let it sit there for 4 days. And then after 4 days, you start turning it every 2 days. So it just gives you something, you can put a reminder on your calendar or on your phone of what days you're actually supposed to be turning it. So then either 2 weeks to 2 years, depending on what method you've used, you know your compost is done when it's broken down, it's dark brown, and it has a warm and earthy smell. So you do kind of want to start off with smaller pieces when you add it in, because the bigger the size, the more it's going to take, the longer it's going to take to break down. But they did warn against breaking up your pieces, your materials too small to start with, because if you break it down too small to start with, you can actually create an anaerobic environment. You won't create enough air in your pile to be able to break down everything. If everything's too small and almost liquidy, then there's no air is going to get into there, and so it's not going to break down properly. So start with small pieces and just give it some time. All right, and then after backyard composting, they started talking about vermicomposting, which is worm composting. And I have to be honest, you guys, I started off this part of the presentation like, nope, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in worms. I don't want it. I don't want that in my house. I don't want those in my yard, the worm bin. But then the more they were talking about it, the more I was like, I think I'm going to try this. This actually sounds really, really interesting. And I think it would be a really fun thing to do with my daughters. I think they would enjoy that. So worm composting is supposed to be the easiest, absolutely easiest form of composting that you can do. Like, you basically can't screw up with worm composting or vermicomposting. And what it is you're basically using worms, a specific type of worm. They're called red wigglers. And they basically eat all the greens and the browns that you have, and then they poop it out, and they make it rich and healthy, and it's so incredibly good for your soil. But it kind of does the same thing, is that it removes the waste from the landfills. Obviously not as much as backyard composting does, but I think it'd still be really, really cool to try. So they were kind of going over how to do it. The main thing was layered bins is what they talked about. And so you have to start the worms off with a bed of like bedding, basically. And shredded newspaper was a good example. I think we have a shredder that we use for all of our papers. So I think I'm going to use the paper shredder. You can use junk mail as long as it's not shiny. You can use pieces of cardboard if you break it up enough. And then you want to wet it, and then you put the worms in. And then every so often you feed your worms, and you keep checking on them, and they will eat through all the food and then eventually produce waste. And then what you want to do is you want to put another layer on top. You put more food in that top layer. All the worms will migrate to the new layer, and then the bottom layer will have those worm castings that are actually extremely expensive to buy at the store, and it's pretty cheap if you can do it yourself. So they kind of just went through all the ins and outs of worm composting. Again, they showed another couple books. I can't remember the names of them, but I'm going to buy them as well. And I actually, if you can believe it, underneath my kitchen sink, we have a cabinet. and it's empty. There's nothing underneath my kitchen sink right now, which is crazy because there's stuff everywhere else in my house. But I just haven't put anything under my kitchen sink at this point. So I think that will be the perfect spot for putting my worm composting bin. I'm just going to get a small one for Amazon. But I think I will do a separate video on that in a couple weeks once I kind of figure it all out. So like I said, when they first started talking about worm composting, I was kind of like, nope, not my thing. I don't care about it. But the more they went into it, the more interesting it sounded. And the more it was like, okay, I definitely want to try this. Okay, so that is it for the composting portion of my week 4 Master Gardeners recap. I think composting is really fantastic. I think it is something that I want to learn more about. I didn't realize how little I actually knew about composting. So it's definitely piqued my interest, especially with the worm composting. And I am going to try that hot batch bin composting, because if you can get that done in like a month, that's awesome. That's super, super cool. So I think it will just be fun to really get to know exactly how to do it and expand my skills for composting. And of course, I will bring you all along. Now, again, those of us that have really small yards, really small areas, we kind of have to adjust and we have to figure out a way to do it. Again, I'm going to get that Compost City book and see if there's any tips or tricks for small space composting that I can share with all of you. If you have a big yard, good for you. Make your compost bin, you know, because I think it's a really great thing to have as a gardener and as just a human. Someone living on earth. So stay tuned for part 2 of my Master Gardeners week 4 training. Part 2 again is propagating. I thought I knew everything about propagating because I really enjoy propagating. It's a really fun hobby to do. I didn't know everything. I actually learned quite a lot from the presenter, and I wanted to share all that with you. So I will put a link up here, and then I will also put a link at the end of this video as well. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions.
All right, you guys are done watching the video. So I got my Walmart order. Okay, so I got this really cool planner. Honey, you want to help me hold this up? Mm-hmm. So I can't really hold my hands up that high. So I got this really cool planner. It was like $12. So I can start planning. You know, it has a calendar. So if you can open it, please. So like
sorry.
Okay, so as you open it, it's this is to 2006 of December. Okay, so it has tabs with it. Okay, it was like $12.
A little crazy. I just got done eating.
Yeah, so these are just like my personal information and whatnot. It's like an address book thingy, but what's cool is that like I can start like putting stuff on the calendar and then having
I'm
it.
not sure how well they can see it.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
so
get
a good look at it.
And then as you go in the back, just keep going, and it has it by months. So the tabs, and then they have more space where I can like write notes, which is cool. And this is going to be for my start seeding and just my journey on my my gardening. So it's good to plan your stuff and journal for sure.
Oh, it's calendar. This is for next year.
Yeah, so I go
all of next year.
Yeah, all of next year.
Yeah, I think we have our little planner.
Yeah, so close that. So that's that, and that's pretty cool. And I also got this really cool like whiteboard for my greenhouse to like, you know, write notes on, to-dos and stuff like that. And then I also got a little miniature one for the calendar. So all my thoughts that are in my book, I can always just put them so I can see them every day when I'm in my.
They already have columns.
So they already have columns. It's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then I got some colors since I'm really color coded, you guys. I can't live without colors.
You can use that to plan out your whole month right there.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Yeah, and I got these colors. And that's about it. That was like my little Walmart order that I was waiting for to, you know, start.
What are those?
Those are the Sharpies.
Oh, those are dry erase markers.
Yeah, so okay. I got colors. So yeah, that's about it, you guys. And thank you for coming. Oh, there's my dogs. Look at Blanco. All right, there we go. All right, you guys. Well, thank you all for joining and watching those lovely videos with me. I really appreciate it. And hopefully you guys learned something. And next week, I probably will be in the tent figuring out what I want to do. And then, you know, put my brain together and see what seeds I'm going to start. And then hopefully you guys will join me next week. Same time, same place. next Sunday. And then we do have an upcoming class, you guys. And that is with Miss Sabrina Giesler. All right. All right, you guys can see my screen. All right, so located here on the left-hand side, you guys go to see our calendar, and the upcoming event is Yarn Yard Tales, Tall Tales. It's like, it's a tongue twister there. And Roger, if you haven't joined the chat right here, if you go right here, everybody, for those who are don't know about it, we have the Campfire Circle. It'll be located here in the Members Connect collection. You want to click on that doggle to expose it. All right, so you want to come all the way down here to the Campfire Circle, and that is a chat. Okay, so you want to click on it. You know me, I'm a chit chatter. So as you come into it, same thing like Let's Go Help Too. You just kind of come in there and say hi, good morning, whatever you want to do. So when you come in here, you'll see, if you're on your cell phone, you won't see this. You'll see them at the top. But as you're on your your computer or your laptop, you'll see the members that have joined the chat. Okay. So Candace is there. I don't see Roger there. I see Vanessa. So if you haven't joined this, I encourage you all to join it. I think everybody should be auto joined, but I should ask Sabrina. I'm not quite sure. If you guys have to click to join. All right. Well, other than that, I hope to guys, if I don't pass out later on tonight, it's always her late class that I always kind of like get ready for and then end up passing out. But other than that, you guys, I hope you have a fabulous weekend or week. We'll see you all day tomorrow, and then Tuesday and then Wednesday. I'll see you all. I'll see you throughout the week, you guys. And I hope you have a fabulous week, and you guys can unmute. Roger. Thank you for coming in, and I will see you on Wednesday on my birthday. You're the special one that gets me on my birthday.
That's right. I gave Charity a call, but just had to leave a message.
Oh, okay, yeah. I text messaged her at like 12 o'clock, and she responded. Yeah, I always do that. Good. Yeah, she knows I already messaged her, and then I broadcast on Let's Go Help Too, like I always do, and then yeah, go wish Miss Charity Spencer a happy birthday. I haven't put it on here yet, but I don't think she comes on here that often. But I'm gonna post a happy birthday to Miss Charity Spencer. All right, you guys, take care, and I will see you later on tonight. All right, you guys, thank you, thank you, Benny, for being my co-host, and thank you for speaking.
Adios.
I love it.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night, you guys. I'll see y'all later on in the afternoon.